Hi, everyone, and welcome to Security Live. Security Live is a streaming show focused on AWS and AWS partners solving security challenges for customers. Each show, we feature an AWS partner discussing topics, all topics related to security. It's the last show of the year, I think. You can tune into Security Live every other Tuesday from 8 a.m. Pacific time or 4 p.m. GMT time. And you can join in our chat channel. So please join in and ask questions away to our guests. Let me introduce myself. My name is Margot Cronin. I'm a Security and Compliance Specialist SA. And I'm joined today by my colleague Himanshu.
Yeah, thanks, Margot. Hi, everyone. Welcome to Security Live. Turns out this is our last bi-weekly session for this calendar year. My name is Himanshu. I lead the team of our worldwide security specialists. We are subject matter experts on all things security, identity, and governance, and help our customers and partners with their security outcomes. Margot, this is post reInvent. So I think the last show was actually in person at reInvent, live from the expo floor.
And did you go? Were you lucky enough to present?
Yeah, reInvent was super packed. I was there, and I also co-hosted live from reInvent. We actually had a long string of partners, as well as some of our AWS leaders who came in and talked about all things security. I'm sure for audience members who are listening in, you can always go back on our homepage and look at some of the replays from the previous events. But in today's session, which is we want to finish the year strong, we do have two of our esteemed partners, and the topics here should be very timely because reInvent was packed with all these launches and new announcements, especially in the artificial intelligence and AI area. I remember, I think the keynote from Matt went on for approximately about 2 hours in all these innovations that are happening in artificial intelligence, and that he had to use the last 10 minutes as a challenge to introduce 25 launches, which were not really mainstream artificial intelligence. So like it was just a super exciting event.
Some of my favorites are actually from that list. The nitro isolation one was incredible. The automated reasoning, the mathematical proof, just incredible. Really, really impressive. And Werner's Renaissance developer. So were our guests that we have with us today, were they at reInvent? Did you get to meet them there?
I met our Tenable partner team there, but I think we have a guest here from Tenable.
Connection, that was very smooth. I can tell you're next to What a link. NBC will be calling you, Fox will be calling you to present news.
All right, let's bring on our first partner on today's show, Liat.
Hey everyone, how are you?
Liat Hayun. Liat Hayun is from Tenable, and she is an SVP product manager for cloud security. We're delighted to have her here, and I think she's going to be talking to us. We're going to be continuing this theme around governance, I think, Himanshu, related to AI, and that there were loads of announcements, or plenty of announcements, I think, during reInvent. I am seeing the ball of death. I don't know if you are. I don't know if AI is going to help us here. Here we are. Awesome.
Liat, welcome to the show. Were you at reInvent this year?
Unfortunately, not this year. Maybe next year.
Definitely, yes. I think I was telling Margot that I did meet some of the other Tenable team members there. But there was a lot of artificial intelligence and AI workload related announcements and innovations at reInvent. Starting from new foundational models, especially around Nova, and a lot from frontier models, that were fully autonomous, etc. And then some of the security-related enhancements and improvements as well. But when we talk to customers, reInvent's also like an opportunity to talk to a lot of customers. AI governance and AI security still stays front and center for a lot of our customers. Give us audience and listeners a quick introduction, who you are, what do you do at Tenable, and then we can dive into some of these subjects.
Of course, my pleasure. So Liat, I'm calling in from sunny Tel Aviv, and I have the pleasure of leading many of our product management teams here at Tenable, including our AI security team and our cloud security team. So definitely top of mind for us as we're, talking about what our plans are and what our roadmap is. I've been at cybersecurity from basically since I can remember. I have this story of my parents telling me. I hardly remember it myself, but apparently when I was about 8, they bought me a Barbie doll that was a talking Barbie doll. And one of the things that I tried to do is to make it say other things, which you can already see my future into understanding how systems work, trying to subvert them into doing other things. I started my cybersecurity career back at Palo Alto Networks, mostly on the post-breach side, leading products like XDR, and that's your kind of extended threat detection and response, and managed threat hunting. And then I went on to start my own company called Eureka Security. We were a company in the data security space, so I kind of transitioned from the post-breach side to pre-breach, trying to actually prevent things from before they happen. And we were fortunate and lucky enough to be acquired by Tenable about 1.5 years ago. And this is how I made my way into Tenable.
Congratulations, by the way. And what a great name. Did you say Eureka Security?
Eureka, yeah, like the thing you shout when you find something interesting,
yes.
Right?
That is a very cool name.
I'm guessing just from the name of it, it was like about illuminating or highlighting, what is unseen. Is that a good analogy?
Exactly. So I think like many of the issues we're now seeing in AI security, 3-4 years ago when we started Eureka, the main issue that we heard customers talking about is, where do I have data? What out of that data is sensitive, and what can I do about it? And just showing them that inventory of data that they have, the sensitive data, was our Eureka moment, right? That's where they could have finally see what they were missing.
Liat, I just want to remind people, if they have any questions for you, that they can join in the chat here and fire them away. And your Barbie doll story is getting some love. Your DDoS attack on poor Barbie, not just Barbie. But what are you hearing out there? There's so many, and we were saying this in the introduction, right? There's so many announcements around AI and so many models coming into the market. What kind of governance problems or what kind of security problems are you hearing from customers?
Of course. So look, for as a technologist, and I think we kind of all share the same sentiment, AI is amazing, right? Like, you can finally do a lot of things that we couldn't have done before. It would take us a long time. So we're all just, all technology enthusiasts. We are all fastly adopting all of these tools. I think all the LLM mechanisms, the chatbots, the image generation tools, and all of that. It's as a category, it's definitely one of the fastest adopted categories across the board, right? And enterprise organizations are seeing the same thing. Their developers, their users, everyone wants to leverage AI for business use cases, for productivity, and that's awesome, right? That's a great thing to see. But at the same time, you can kind of, when I'm saying this, you can kind of see who's a security practitioner and who's not, because everyone who's not are excited, their eyes light up, and all the security practitioners are kind of moving uneasily in their seats, because that fast adoption of this new, fairly unknown technology just expands the attack surface and creates a lot of use cases that many of the organizations we work with just don't know what to do with, right? So anything starting with, what AI tools is my organization even using, or anyone in my organization using, all the way to what is then being done with those tools and how can I reduce, eliminate, or see even the risk that brings with it, is definitely the number one question we're hearing across the board.
Yeah, I think I find that fundamentally true, which is I think your sort of explanation of the skepticism in the security industry and the security personas with artificial intelligence is sort of grounded in the facts of the unknown, which is I don't know what's going to happen. And I think the more and more I talk to customers, I find out is that you would have thought that until now, given where we've gone from our transformation from on-premises to the cloud to software as a services, to multiple software as a services talking to each other, that the data governance and the data visibility problem would have been resolved. But it is such a hard and nuanced space because you don't really have visibility at all times, like what all is sensitive, how is it getting used, and who all is using it. So now I think with this new transformation in the artificial intelligence world, where agents and machines can access this data, it seems that anxiety is showing up in a more amplified fashion. You think, is that what you're seeing with customers as well?
So that's definitely a main use case that we're hearing. So, visibility is the bedrock of security, right? You have to have that, pun intended. And so just starting from understanding not just what you have in your environment in terms of tools being used, but having that level of connectivity between the different assets. And to your point, understanding what identities, and in this case, maybe agentic identities and AI tools are accessing what parts of data, definitely a main use case that we're hearing, right? No one wants their chatbot to be leaking out sensitive data just because that agent was trained on user data, on personal identifiable information. So again, having that visibility into, hey, you have this agent that was created. That agent now has access to S3 bucket with sensitive data in it. That is a must-have for you to be able to decide, is it a risk? Am I approving this risk? And if not, what can I do to eliminate that risk? And similar to that, we are seeing many other use cases, right? Public accessibility is another one that is easy to talk about, right? You don't want anyone to be poisoning the data on which agents are being trained, or to have access to agents that should only be accessible internally to the organization. So all of these different, I would say use cases, but basically just things our teams or organizations are scared of. That's when we talk about AI security, that is definitely what we're talking about.
How do you see organizations coping with and moving in their journey in terms of learning about AI? Because I often feel very lucky, not to be cheesy, that I work for a company like AWS, and I have all this information at my fingertips, and I get to listen to all the reInvent sessions, or maybe we get to go to reInvent. And I can imagine if you're in an enterprise and you've got like all of this coming at you from all directions, the first thing you need to know is, what is it I need to govern? And you're moving from MCPs to AI agents to LLMs to managed services. How are enterprises approaching this? Is it contributing to the fear, uncertainty, and doubt? What do you see?
Yeah, so yeah, definitely. Like I can only say that I think it's very much of a bottom-up motion, right? As opposed to many other technologies that were kind of adopted by the organization and then users started using them. I think AI is much more prevalent than we think. So even if you're not directly using, if you don't think you're using an AI tool, you might have AI tools in the browser plugins you're using, or in other tools and capabilities you're using just on your laptop for day-to-day use cases. So it's very much of a bottom-up motion. Even things that are more governed, more kind of enterprise guided, like coding mechanisms, coding tools, and coding copilots. We see a lot of bottom-up motion from users wanting to use those tools. So the reaction of many organizations is, as you said, first of all, panic. Because they just understanding what tools are being used by their users, where do they have AI in their organization, is not an easy task to answer. It's not like I can go to one place and see all of those applications, or just go to one area and monitor it. AI exists on personal machines and on users' laptops. It exists in SaaS applications that they're using that might be sanctioned or unsanctioned. It exists in their infrastructure, whether if it's on-prem infrastructure or cloud infrastructure. It's sometimes managed, like the managed tools we have in AWS around Bedrock is a great example. And it's sometimes unmanaged. Sometimes someone can just leverage their own Hugging Face library, again, on their machine or in the cloud. And you don't necessarily have visibility to that. So first of all, I think the first step is just understanding AI exists in all of these different places, and not all of them are kind of company mandated or coming from the top down. Many organizations, the maybe natural approach is to want to prevent and just stop a lot of things from being used. But what we are seeing is a lot of organizations, a lot of security teams want to say yes They just want to understand what they're saying yes to. So a lot of them don't want to be that gating mechanism. They don't want to be those naysayers. They actually want to say, awesome, yeah, this, it increases productivity. It helps with what we're doing. But let's make sure as we're saying yes, let's make sure we understand and accept the risk it brings.
Yeah, and I think, sorry, Margot, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, has not always been security's challenge, like not wanting to be the department that says no, just to your point, that like not wanting to be in the way of development to allow that kind of innovation. So it's kind of, this has been, exemplified with the AI journey.
Exactly. It's always been their, I would say, goal, mission. In most of the organizations I've met, no one likes to say no. But to your point, I think it became more difficult for them to say yes to everything, right? Or it became the pace of innovation, the pace things are moving is so quick that even say, hey, no, we want to say yes. Let's take some time to look into that. When you have that across 50 different applications or 10 different SaaS applications and tools, it just becomes that much more challenging for them to be able to do that.
Yeah, I think the term that I hear is shadow AI these days, Liat, and I think you explained it, very well, which is there's multiple different forms of leveraging artificial intelligence workloads. They don't always come in a managed service fashion. I mean, although I think there is some precedence to that where, if you are using a managed service, it sort of like reduces your incident attack surface area significantly, but that doesn't really preclude from anyone to going in and calling libraries or setting up like a model context protocol or an MCP server, for their testing purposes or for business teams trying to go and innovate certain things. So in this regard, I think one of the things that jumps out is that, are we still back to like the old school classification of data and information? Or I think you used this term earlier, which is like, hey, network reachability could be like an aspect. And it seems like context is very important here. I see a lot of now term being used, like what is the context of the data, and in what purposes or what use cases is it being used? Is that something where like the adding that context is helping identify the risk associated with the data?
Yeah, so I think there are two parts for that. So the first part is, when we talk about shadow AI, some things hide deeper in the shadows versus others, to your point. Right. So there's shadow AI around, libraries I'm just using. So go figure out if someone using Hugging Face in their application, that's definitely very much in the shadows. Versus if someone is using SageMaker, which is a managed service, that's easier to identify. You can inventory what you have in your cloud environment, and that's easier. But the fact that it's being used might still be somewhat shadowy. Like it's so easy to spin up, right? Like that's why the cloud is there, because you want these services to be easy to spin up. You want them to be accessible. So still monitoring them and making sure that they're being not just managed from an environment perspective, but also from a security perspective. That's definitely part of what we refer to as shadow AI. For the second part, I think this is a good point to talk about the Tenable approach to it. Tenable is an exposure management company, and in a lot of ways, AI security is an exposure problem, right? It's we talk about all these different combinations that you're talking about. I have this resource I didn't know about. It's publicly exposed, and it has access to sensitive data. That is the case whether if that resource is an AI agent or something else running in your environment, which is why our approach to AI security is very similar to our approach in many ways to other exposure problems, right? First of all, we need to understand what the attack surface even is, right? So identifying AI applications on personal machines and on servers, identifying all the different resources and services in the cloud environment. That is the first part of, you want to understand what is exposed, first understand what you have. The second part is then understanding the context, to your point. So not looking at things in a siloed way. You can't look at AI security separately from cloud security and posture management, or separately from data security. Knowing that an AI resource has access to sensitive data and is exposed externally, that is a combination you have to have. So having that level of exposure, and then surfacing up what truly matters the most, because as I'm sure many of the on this call, on this show today know, we can talk about problems all day long, but knowing what truly matters, knowing what creates a significant exposure is really key for us to be able to drive action to that. So AI security is not much different than that, right?
So we have a question in from a Twitch listener, and we're actually streaming today on LinkedIn, YouTube, and Twitch. And someone on Twitch, Erie Edits, is asking, as AI is implemented in all corners of life, is there fear of over saturation? And how do you determine, or how can an enterprise customer determine what is useful versus too much? For example, AIs in toasters. Yes, my LLM butter-enabled toast in the morning. What do you recommend?
Yeah. So I think AI is an awesome technology, and it's great, but it's yet another tool. And you could ask the same thing about different technologies or different programming languages, or any we had AI even before LLMs, right? We had machine learning before we had LLMs. So it's an amazing tool, and it can help us accelerate a lot of the processes we have, but it's not a hammer you point at every problem you have. So I think what we'll end up seeing is, yes, it will be used in many more areas than what we imagine. Like even for me, a year ago or 2 years ago, there are areas that we're already leveraging AI and LLMs in that I couldn't have guessed 2 years ago. But I think at some point, there will be some saturation, and I'm sure we'll have like funny memes about why is someone using AI in this, I don't know, in this iron, right? Like it's not. I'm sure we'll see things that don't make sense. This is not to say that won't happen, but I think we'll all agree that at some point, like you're just using it because it's cool, right? Which is yeah.
Are there common problems you're seeing? Like if there was one problem you could take away to that point, about these kind of new problems now, what's a common problem if we could get rid of one tomorrow, wave our AI wand, that you would like gone?
Just any problem in the world, or
the AI. We can do any problem in the world of drinks.
No, but I mean, is a security problem with AI, or like a problem with AI, or problem I can solve with AI?
Something.
No, I was going to say, I think like if we go back to the same problem that we were talking about, which is like, discovering data and the context around the data. I mean, I recall not too long ago when we were talking about, data classification at scale, or even like the ability to get an inventory of resources at scale. We were using ML and artificial intelligence to actually do that. So maybe the paradigm shift here is to leverage the technology that we're trying to safeguard to actually enable that. So what's your take on, like you mentioned, like exposure management, which is, in sort of like simple terms, is ability to bring in all this rich context and make it, more relatable. What is a high risk versus not high risk resource, etc. Right? So how is artificial intelligence or machine learning making that part easier?
Yeah, so we definitely have those two thinking tracks all the time: AI for security and security for AI, right? So we mostly talked about the security for AI part so far, but we probably spend as much, if not more, time to think about how AI can be leveraged for security, whether if it's our internal processes and how we can speed up some of our capabilities, our development efforts with AI, but also how can we help our customers leverage the product in a way that is more efficient. So to your point, prioritization is a key area, right? Just that's almost the definition of a lot of LLMs, like taking a lot of information and building context out of that. Explainability is the other thing, right? So when we surface up issues and findings, sometimes just explaining all that context and bringing that into something that you can read through and understand, that's definitely an area that AI and LLMs can be leveraged for. And then there's so many other things, as we identify things like code secrets in code, like whether or not someone accidentally left their password in code. That is, again, a text problem that AI can do much more efficiently than previous tools could have done before. So we almost ask for almost any new problem we have, and definitely even for problems you already solved, there's always 5 minutes into the conversation, someone will ask, can we do this with AI? Is there a way to do this with AI? And in many cases, the answer will be yes. So we almost default to AI in those cases.
Yeah, 100%. I think there's the elements of, like you said, like improving the productivity and making it simpler for the users to understand, like the security nuance, where earlier you needed all this rich expertise to be able to correlate and chain through things, and now you can leverage some of the AI to actually go ahead and make it human readable for like a normal user to understand like what actions need to be taken with regards to response or remediation. Although I think there is that like when we talk about now autonomous or frontier agents, right? How's that going to shape? Because like detections are sort of like part of the problem, or I would say like like half of the journey, which is I've identified where things are now. Because eventually now you have to go and protect or prevent. How does that like life cycle get completed in this case?
Yeah. So as you were talking about, describing the explainability and kind of bringing context into a human readable, like the first question that pops to mind is, why should we even do it human readable? Like, why shouldn't an agent take action on whatever we found? So it really doesn't need to be a human readable process, right? And I think what we're seeing is the same trend we've been seeing with many automation processes. And again, I love AI. I can't stress that enough. But it's another tool to help us automate or accelerate some of the processes. And I think what we're seeing here is the same kind of process we've went through with other automation tools, which is we keep kind of addressing one step at a time, which is great. And as we address those steps and progress forward, we help as an industry, we help our customers gain more trust, and we also understand what's required to build that trust, right? Things like auditing, things like permissions. So how do we build that trust towards that journey to eventually, automate a lot of what we do, and have agentic capabilities that can help us not just with making our job easier, but to actually do some of that job for us. And what part of that job can be done by them? Where do we trust them? Where do we not? And that brings up a lot of interesting questions. Like, let's say something was done incorrectly. You've deleted a database, or your agent deleted a database on accident. Whose fault is it, right? So I think that kind of brings, as an industry, I think we'll have a lot of interesting answers to questions to answer as we bring more agentic capabilities and more tools to help us support those issues.
Yeah, 100%. I have a feeling that just like, for data discovery and data risk and exposures, we've gone back to sort of like the basics, authorization and identification of these machine identities is another area which is going to resurface very quickly.
Yeah. Like always, security is an extension of technology, of IT, right? And that is definitely a significant shift in how technology is used and adopted, and we're shifting with it.
Yes. Hey, I know we're coming close to the end of our 30 minutes here, Liat. Any fun plans for New Year's?
That's a great question. So I have a 9-month-old baby. I have fun plans every night.
Is AI helping with the baby?
That is when you asked about cool problems we can solve with AI, my head was spinning around that part. So yes, definitely.
Getting babies to sleep through the night.
Exactly.
No, thanks a lot for joining, Liat. We will be streaming again in New Year's, but stay tuned for our second partner guest, and Happy New Year.
Thank you. You too.
All right. Welcome back, everyone. Hello. This is Security Live, streaming virtually in this episode. We were actually live from the reInvent Expo floor in our previous iteration. My name is Himanshu. I lead the team of our worldwide security specialists at AWS. We help customers and partners with their security outcomes. And I am joined with one of our co-hosts from the Europe region. Welcome, Margot.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I'm actually based in Switzerland. It's evening time here. And my name is Margot Cronin. I'm a security and compliance specialist SA. So I work on site with a lot of our partners, which is really, really cool. I was gutted to miss reInvent actually the other week, the week before last. I didn't get to attend. What was your favorite announcement, Himanshu?
There were so many announcements at reInvent. One of the ones that being a security professional that stood out to me was actually, I would say two announcements that stood out for me. One of them was tied to an open source tool that we made available for identities that can be Yes.
Yes, EP server. I need to try this out. Anything to
Yes.
help with IAM policy gets big love.
A lot of times customers like ask about solving for complex problems, and IAM, identity and access management policies, is sort of like one of those areas. So like how can we use artificial intelligence and automation to go address your IAM policy so that you start right and run well? I think that was like spot on. And then, Matt announced a lot of cool artificial intelligence announcements, but one of them that stood out was frontier agents, both for DevSecOps personas as well as for security personas. So I think those were like two that really stood out, for me.
Awesome.
How about you? I know like we were there in person hosting Security Live on the expo floor. So there was a lot of conversations, being virtual. Like what stood out for you from reInvent?
So being virtual, what stood out for me and was actually quite moving was the feedback online to Werner Vogel's speech. I mean,
Yes.
first of all, I know the introduction was a little bit cheesy and they're always a little bit like that, but that just landed so well. And this idea of a Renaissance developer and how, it's like, these amazing tools which will help us deliver as we have done before, but like bigger and better. Yeah, it was really quite moving. And then he announced it was his 14th keynote and last, and
Yes.
that was also like really well received. I also personally loved, you mentioned it there when we were talking to Liat, was 25 announcements in 10 minutes or something from
Yes. I think Matt's keynote was packed with so many innovations and announcements that after he was done with the AI related announcements, the last 10 minutes included 25 new launches.
I really loved, I mean, I can call a few out, but what I actually really loved was, hey, just a reminder, we also do this stuff. And here's some really cool investments in these particular areas. And many of our customers are using those services. And there's actually quite a lot I need to go away and learn. That'll be Christmas holidays and New Year's reading. But who do we have joining us now? And were they at reInvent, Himanshu?
Yeah. So, like in addition to all the product and service launches, there was also cool partner innovations and announcements, like Ruba and Matt Yanchison, like announced a ton of new innovations happening both for the AWS partners as well. And speaking of which, we're joined with one of those AWS partners. Let's bring on Fernando from Trend Micro.
Hey, Himanshu. Hey, Margot. Thank you for having me.
Hey, Fernando. Fernando is no stranger to the show. Fernando, what number is this for you?
The show I would say 3 or 4 times already.
Yes.
But Margot was mentioning about like a reInvent, and that was my 12th time in the reInvent, right?
Oh, wow.
Yeah. A lot of people don't know, but Trend Micro was the first cybersecurity vendor to be with AWS at the reInvent event. Yeah.
That's very cool. I didn't know
that. That is cool. Fernando, give us a quick introduction for our audience. You're a regular, visitor on the show. I think we should start giving away the Saturday Night Live. You should fifth time appearance row, but give us a quick introduction.
Sure. Fernando Cardoso, Vice President for Product Management for Cloud and AI at Trend Micro, and also leading the strategic partnerships with AWS, NVIDIA, and some others key strategic partners from us. Been Trend for over 14 years and always working with AWS teammates and Amazonians across the globe, from Brazil to like the different areas. I think it would be really cool to be like here and be part of this. It's amazing. Yeah, thank you.
Doesn't Trend Micro have something like 20 partner specializations? Is that right? Like there's some kind of really...
We have quite a bit, and we are doing a couple more competencies, even more. True.
That's really cool.
Yeah, that is very cool. For any of our listeners, calling in from Brazil or Latin America, give it a shout out to Fernando here. Fernando and I have been, talking to each other for quite many years now. And Fernando, your role has evolved within Trend as well. Like, give us like sort of like a snapshot of your journey.
I start as a sales engineer in Trend Micro, and then moved to solutions architect, working close with like AWS for automations. Like back in the day was like few services on AWS. Now it's hard to keep up with like so many innovations that you guys are driving. But back in the day was like automation on the EC2s, creating the deployment script on the metadata systems for automating every single EC2 to be on top of that. That was like really amazing, right? Then we started moving to like connecting with the AWS infrastructure, where we bring all the inventory of like EC2s, but also the S3 buckets, like and many other pieces together. We built out like the first malware scanning for S3. Every time when you upload a new object to S3, we automatically scan those objects and we tag, this is malicious, this is not malicious. Then we move around like detecting the cloud risk management through like over 100 different types of like AWS services, and then move on to the cloud detection, response, and container security, and many other pieces as part of like our platform. It's been like amazing to see like this innovation with AWS team and working with Himanshu, Ryan, and the entire team from AWS.
And how was this reInvent for you, this 12th one?
It's been very interesting. Like I think it was over 70,000 people in that event. Was quite a bit incredible to see the amount of like things that is happening. It's back in the day, I think it was like very dedicated of like infrastructure building. Now it's a lot of like AI infrastructure building. Like there is like the generative AI, but going beyond of like delivering the outcomes for the business, right? Helping like the organizations to achieve what they need. Doesn't matter how, right? They can be maybe using infrastructure from EC2, containers, Fargate, microservices, cloud native technologies, AI technologies as a SageMaker, Bedrock, and now Agent Core, right? I think it's a very important part of like AWS now too.
Yeah, I think this is Fernando. I think one of the things that we were discussing was that like what are the things that stood out from all the different innovations. Like I wanted to get your perspective on like reInvent was such a busy week. What stood out for you specifically with regards to like where we are moving or innovating, and also like what did you hear from customers?
It's very interesting to see how the building model is being, the velocity is going extremely fast, right? Back in the day, it will take like you quite a bit of time to starting testing applications or to starting testing infrastructure. Even with like the entire automation with CloudFormation templates, Terraform, and so on, it will take a little bit longer time. But with AI, the level of like development with like cloud architects, DevOps, and AI innovation teams are being unbelievable. Even with the Kiro that you guys launched too, it's being accelerating a lot of the innovation from customers. And I think that is pretty impressive, like how customers are becoming from like a testing and prototype infrastructure to like a no production, right? I think it's very important, right? That level of like velocity we never saw before in the history. Every time we talk about like accelerating the velocity, but like how we just got recently and how you guys deliver and talk during reInvent, I think was extremely impressive.
And I just want to call out, I think it's over on that side of my monitor anyway, there's a QR code, and I think that's to some announcement you guys as well. So there was also announcements from our partners, and I think you guys made some pretty cool announcements at reInvent.
Yeah, Yeah, we did 11 new launches at
Wow.
the AWS reInvent. We're trying to like getting up like the 100. I remember back in the day was 100, 130 from
Yeah,
AWS, right? Maybe one day we'll get that level. But we did like 11 new
that's
announcements at the
awesome.
AWS reInvent. Yeah. And was very aligned with AWS, right? I think the
Right.
partnership with AWS shows up how we can build things together.
Yeah,
And I think the most excited for me on that one was actually two parts. One, it's um, we have this concept that I released 1 year ago in the AWS reInvent that was like a AI security blueprint. And I don't know if they can come out with like sharing just a blueprint for you all see it, but I present for the first time this at the AWS reInvent, right? And we also create like a paper for customers for them to go through to the details, and that specifically blueprint, it is going to like a multiple layer protection, right? Because protecting your AI infrastructure, it is not about like just one piece. It is about like creating a strategy that you go from data, models, microservices, the entire cloud assets infrastructure, looking for misconfigurations or missing specifically compliance or standards that you may have, the communication between the users and the AI applications, how you're monitoring the risks and potential prompt injection that can exist, but also how you can create the guardrails for that, right, in real time as you are learning, the vulnerabilities that can exist, and also how you can control the prompts that the users and also external users from outside the organizations can do through like the AI applications. I think that blueprint was extremely successful. I don't know if Jeffrey, if you can like just bring it up like the screen for a bit. Yeah, that was a little sneak peek of what I was mentioning, right?
Mhm.
And
Oh, wow.
what we did in reInvent was actually very interesting because we bring this up like this diagram. It's like, how can we make easy for customers? And then we transform that it is like a real-time dashboard for customers where they can see every single layer
Yeah.
if they have any asset in AWS related to that specifically section or that specifically layer, and if they have the protection already enabled or not, or if they are missing that protection, right? It's a good way for understanding their like which kind of AI assets they have. That is go with like something that you were talking with Liat before from Tenable around like the shadow AI, right? We are helping with like bringing this whole visibility of the shadow AI that the customer may have, right?
Yeah.
And from there, you start to identify the AI risks. And from the AI risks, you can start in creating the layers protection for prevention. Because it's not just about bringing the visibility or in detection. It's
Yeah.
about like allowing that to create like a layer protection to make sure you prevent things before something happen, right?
Right.
It's like it's DevSecOps for AI. I think we need to stick in AI.
100%. Yeah, 100%.
I really like that. It's very cool. I had a question there and it's just gone straight out of my mind. So I'm going to hand back to Himanshu. Awesome.
No. I think this is actually very relevant, because a lot of conversation that I had with customers were like, like there's so many different moving parts and pieces, just like with any technological transformation. I think if we like step back, like Fernando mentioned, the excitement at reInvent resonated, because I think now we are seeing a lot of those proof of concept projects moving into production, and hence like customers are actually leaning in to provide feedback on where all AI can help or transform.
Exactly.
But then with that comes like like this need of understanding the complexity of like like where all are the security boundaries.
Yep.
And I think with all things security personas, I think one of the things that customers want is an easy and consumable way to understand like what all are the different areas where they need to protect or make sure that their risk is mitigated. And Fernando, I think we call this internally sort of like this community of security. The technical community that at AWS comes together, brings our partners and our customers and everyone together, and then creates these prescriptive guidances. So I think this is very applicable and timely, and hopefully you'll get a lot of positive reception from customers. in just helping distill what are the different components and foundational blocks, as well as, like what are the different ways you consume artificial intelligence, and then where
100%.
can you apply security to that?
Yeah, that's actually a very interesting point, Himanshu. I was talking with a customer from like the other very excited part of like what we launched was around what we call AI application security. And that technology combines two major parts. One is like what we call AI scanner. That is like you pointed out to the API for your AI application. We go and we start scanning for prompt injection, data leakage, or system leakage information from your AI infrastructure. And there's like multiple things very aligned with the WASP Top 10 for generative AI and LLMs, right? From that knowledge, we then feed it in to like our LLM judge that is part of like AI guard. It's kind of like a flywheel mechanism that we created. It's like we scan your application, we detect the risk, we grab that information, we retraining the LLM judge, and then you can apply the guardrails to in real time protect your AI applications. And this goes in a perfect sense with like what you said. Like organizations are building those AI applications, but that team usually it is very disconnected with the security teams. And what we are trying to make it is like, how can we make like that gap closer and closer for the development team or the AI innovation team to work close with the security teams. This way they can like not be like rely on security right after they go to production, but they can build together. They can build that steps by steps together to create like a more comprehensive and more proactive approach of like protecting those AI systems, right? And I remember one customer, they were saying like, we were like super close to fail our AI project because we didn't have a runtime guardrails, right? And it's a small mistake sometimes, but makes a huge impact for the organizations because they're making like investments, people, money in the infrastructure and all of that. And because sometimes security, they think it is a bad thing, and I don't want to like, please don't think it is security is a way to slow your innovation. It's a way to, in my opinion, it's unlock even faster innovation, because if you remove the barriers about like security concerns, compliance, or any kind of like a thing that can bring that like a risk mentality, you can remove it. But you need to think security in the early stage from the scratch. If not, we'll keep like beating your head. It's like, oh, is this secure? Did I add the properly controls here? Right. I think that is really important for like as a recommendation for all the attendees and people watching here today, for sure.
No, 100%. No, go ahead, Mark.
I was going to say, I love that gap you mentioned. And if there's a gap between the AI innovation guys and the security guys, I think there's an even further gap with the compliance guys. How does compliance come into the room? When we're seeing that kind of pipeline, and when customers care about compliance, it might be SOC 2, it might be like VIPs, it might be NIST, it might be ISO. How does compliance come into it?
Usually they're together with the security teams. Depending the type of organizations, which would be financial services or any like high regulated organizations, healthcare. The security teams, if compliance have not been involved, they were like, oh, please like bring it on like compliance with us here, because we need to double check if we are like aligned with HIPAA, high trust, PCI DSS, and so on, right? But there is a gap sometimes of like visibility in real time. And this is one of the things that we are trying to help organizations, how they can have the compliance in real-time visibility for everything that they have inside their on-premise infrastructure, with the endpoints, email, networks, but also their cloud infrastructure and AI technologies together, right? How you can bring that cohesive. We inside our platform, we create something that we call cyber risk exposure management. That is very connected with the compliance management, that customers can select which compliance they need to be aligned with, and we monitor in real time. Any like disalignment with those compliances, it will like report to the security officer or the risk management or compliance officer for them to be monitoring what happens in that infrastructure right away.
Very cool. And Fernando, in addition to all the product launches, it seems like Trend also got a new specialization Is that correct?
Oh yeah, we have the security category has inside that like a AI security, right? And we are also in the final stage of the full competency for AI security, generative AI too. That's the second one. We try to do one by one because if you do all together, it's a little hard. But it's been like amazing, like getting those competencies and working together with the customers to hear their like stories and putting together in those like mechanism with AWS. It's a win-win for all those different parts together.
Yeah, I think, and for listeners listening in, all these competencies help customers quickly and easily identify which partners can help address these use cases. So AI security is one of our latest, specialty or our competency within within the security competency category. So trends like like being in the front of all this. One of the other things, Fernando, that jumped out for me was in Matt Yanchishin's keynote, which I think Ruba mentioned as well. For partners, we're making it easier for partners to leverage like products and services that might be native to AWS and build together with those products and services. I remember, Trend and you personally
Be highlighted.
yeah, like we have been working on this path for quite some time with like AWS built-in and some other concepts. But from what I understood is that the AWS marketplace team has made it a concerted effort to make it easier for partners to launch their products and services in an better user experience from within the AWS services and console. So I'm
They
really
call
excited.
AWS Marketplace Express, right? If I'm not
Right.
mistaken.
Yeah, I think it's more than just the marketplace though. Like I think it's the sort of like the user experience of like like you might be doing some part of your security lifecycle, within the AWS workload itself, whether it's in Bedrock, whether it's in Agent Core, whether it's in S3 like you mentioned, and then you want to satisfy the next possible use case with a partner, and then you can like quickly go and pivot into the partner tool without having to go through the nuance of like filling a marketplace form or like going to making some operations and then waiting for somebody to like provision and call you for that solution.
Yeah, I feel it's more like the recommended technologies that we support. It's a very important point because sometimes customers will say, "Oh, I didn't know you have this technology, and if I knew, like, we'll be testing it out, like in our platform, right?" Like, there's I think having this kind of recommendation, it can help a lot of organizations because there's a lot of ISVs and different like vendors there, but sometimes the customers want a consolidation, right? Like we provide like quite a bit of like different capabilities for customers, from like a cloud detection and response, cloud risk visibility, compliance monitoring, container security, like an instance protection for EC2s and so on, plus like a malware scanning for FSX for NetApp, like S3 buckets and any kind of like application utilizing the SDKs, right? Sorry for the acronyms. It's too many sometimes. Yeah, I try. I know.
There's a lot showing that you're ignoring
I
them.
try to
I'm
use
actually
less as
blocking
I
them.
can, but it's hard sometimes, right? But I think having that recommendation right away in the AWS Marketplace when the customers are adopting the technology is super helpful. Also the Marketplace Express to accelerate the adoption, I think is super helpful for organizations to starting quick like testing technologies in different like infrastructures that they are building. Even now with AI, it's like going even faster than before. I think yeah, those are extremely helpful for sure.
Yeah, no, go ahead, Margaret.
I was going to say, does your UI blueprint actually help customers with visibility and traceability? So again,
Yep.
this theme of compliance, because while compliance is sometimes viewed as boring, for the want of a better phrase, it's
Yep.
the unpopular sibling in security. Transparency is an incredibly important part of that. Is that something that you're seeing improving as well?
100%. Yeah. A lot of customers sometimes when we do starting detecting those cloud assets, they were like, "Oh, I didn't know I have those Bedrock being tested in this account or SageMaker being tested in the other account, and we bring that visibility. Plus, because we have the integration with CloudTrail, VPC Flow Log, Security Lake, and so on, that comes with the traceability. The logs information, we apply detection models on top of that to detect any suspicious activities that can happen, right?
Sure. Absolutely. And Fernando, I think we're coming to sort of like the close of our time here. But before we do that, right? What is trend and especially like predictions in AI world? Like what are you excited about in 2026? Looking forward to, and also like what are sort of like your tech predictions, if any?
One of the core things that we are working to help organizations, it is how they can protect their AI innovation. We are leading with two core points, that is like securing AI infrastructure, securing AI innovations from customers, right? And that securing AI innovation, it comes from like a hybrid approach. Some organizations are building specifically use cases in their data centers. Some organizations are building the cloud. But how we can deliver that cohesive visibility from hybrid cloud infrastructure, it is super powerful for a lot of companies, because when you talk about like building AI, they are not just building inside cloud sometimes, right? Their developers are in their office. How do you monitor that connectivity between the developers to your cloud infrastructure? That is the very key and helpful for traceability, as Margot mentioned, right? I think that's one of the missions for Trend, that is securing that AI innovation as customers are building out from like their data center to the cloud, for sure.
Absolutely. I think we definitely look forward to some, new groundbreaking things in 2026 as well, as we continue into that. I personally think that, we're finally, moved away from the noise of, whether this is possible or not, to now like, oh my God, like, it is really possible. And what all the things like you mentioned earlier, like, which is like, as security professionals, what can we do to enable the businesses to unlock the innovation?
Yeah.
And I think which is where the industry is moving towards. Yeah. There is an element though, I think, like as we move into autonomous and or frontier agentic world, I think like who is doing what, and I think we were talking to our previous partner on this regards, as well as that, some of the elements of trust and verify, or like authorization and authentication will resurface again in the machine identity world. So definitely look forward to innovating and co-innovating with our partners in that space as well.
100%. Yeah, and thank you for the amazing partnership with you all, like helping us building together, but also innovating together for our customers, where they can build the most innovative AI infrastructure with Trend. Yeah,
absolutely. Hey, any exciting plans for New Year's?
Resting my brain for a bit after reInvent. But yeah, just enjoying the family. That's good.
No, that's good to know. Hey, for all our listeners, this is hosted every second week on Tuesdays morning, 8 a.m. Pacific. And if you're joining in from anywhere in the world, we also host these both for our customers in North America, Latin America, as well as in Europe and other parts of the region. So wishing everyone happy holidays and a new year. We will be joining everyone in the new year, and look forward to having Fernando back for getting towards the fifth jacket. Yes. Thanks everyone.
Thank you so much. Happy holidays. Great to see you all.
Thank you, Fernando.